So you want to main Hel, goddess of the underworld. First, ask yourself, why do you want to main Hel? She has 2 super fun stances. She's strong and supportive, has a ton of AoE. She has CC and CC cleanse. Cons of Hel: she has bad mobility. She's super squishy. Hel is a SMITE Norse Mage. SMITE has classified her as a hard god, and I agree. I do find her hard to very hard, as she requires tons of practice, timing, and awareness. In this guide, we're going to explore Hel as a mid and solo, going through her abilities, combos, builds, counters, what not to do, and general tips. With that, let's go through her abilities. Hel's passive stance attunement. When Hel is in a stance, she gradually attunes to the strength of that stance. She gains up to 20% damage in dark stance and 20% healing in light stance. It takes 3 seconds to fully charge a stance. This passive is pretty straightforward and there is not much to say about this one. Hel's first ability, Decay and Restoration. Hel's one is a projectile type ability. First, let's go through this ability in its dark stance. Hel fires an orb that deals damage and passes through minions. The orb will explode in a small radius if it hits a guard, a wall, or reaches max range. In light stance, Hel fires an orb of restoration that hits guards only. Hitting an enemy guard deals damage. Hitting an allied guard heals that guard and heals Hel on a successful hit. Remember, with your passive you will do more damage and healing if you're fully attuned in your stance by waiting 3 seconds. I find this ability a bit hard to hit sometimes, especially on allied guards for the heals. Just takes a lot of practice and it's much easier to hit at a closer range. Hel's second ability, Hinder and Cleanse. Hel's 2 is a ground target type. In dark stance, Hel debuffs all enemies in the targeted area. This will reduce their magical protections and slow them for 3 seconds. A really good ability to use in teamfights, setting up your combos and chasing enemies. In light stance, Hel cleanses all allied guards in a targeted area. This removes all CC effects instantly and protecting them from future ones for a duration. This stance requires quite a bit of practice as you'll need to time it for ultimates against Ares or Ymir's Freeze for example. You can do it on allies that are already CC'd or on allies in teamfights to help them avoid any incoming CC. Hel's third ability, Repulse and Inspire. Hel's 3 is an area type. In dark stance, Hel brings a burst of dark energy around her, damaging all enemies. This is Hel's main damage ability and it can do quite a lot. In light stance, Hel brings a burst of light energy around her. This heals her instantly. Her allies, however, will receive a heal over time that ticks every 1 second. Hel gains increased movement speed and her allies gain a reduced amount for the duration. This is Hel's main support move. It also is her main escape and survivability. You can also use this ability to chase down enemies and help allies chase down enemies as well. Hel's ultimate, Switch Stances. This ability is a buff type and it's how you switch between Hel's light and dark stance. The cooldown on the stance switch is 2 seconds. In dark stance, Hel's abilities cause damage and she gains increased magical power. In light stance, Hel's abilities heal and support her allies and she gains increased protections. The passive, Hel gains increased MP5 and half of the benefit gained from the stance are shared with allied gods within 30 units. That's Hel's 2 stances, but a huge and confusing question, when's the right time to use a dark or light stance? Hel is pretty fast paced, so you switch in between a lot. The cooldown for switching stances is so low as well. What I'm about to tell you is not as straightforward as it sounds, but this should generally help out when to use her stances. So when do you use the dark stance? When you want to engage and attack enemies? When you want to slow enemies with your 2, so mostly for chasing and setting up your combos? When you're hitting objectives, you can use your 2 in dark stance to slow enemies behind you if you're being chased as well. When do you want to use light stance? When your allies need heals? When you're taking damage and need increased protections? When you need heals? When your 2 in your dark stance is down and you need to chase enemies, you can do it with your 3 instead for increased movement speed. When you or your allies need CC, cleanse and immunity. When you're escaping and your 3 is up, your 3 will heal you and increase your movement speed. Now for leveling, you can do this 2 ways. For the first 5 levels, at level 1, her 3, at level 2, her 1, at level 3, her 3, at level 4, her 1, at level 5, her ult. Hel's early clear is not good and it's not safe. It requires her to be very close and in range of enemies' abilities. That's why I prioritize her damage abilities early. With this route, play it carefully as you do not have your 2 to cleanse yourself. Another early route you can go is at level 1, her 3, at level 2, her 1, at level 3, her 3, at level 4, her 2, at level 5, her ult. I would go this route if I'm versing someone like Poseidon, Nox, Baron, etc. Some with annoying CC, her 2 will be useful there. For leveling priority, I would go her 3 for damage and heals, her 1 for damage and heals, her 4 for increased damage and protections, her 2 for CC immunity and cleanse, and slows and protection reductions. Combos for Hel. In my opinion, the easiest thing about Hel is her combos. They're simple and she doesn't have a lot. These combos are in her dark stance. Short combos, 2 and 3. This is her main combo, 2 and 1. A medium combo, 2, 3, 1. As for her light stance, there isn't really a combo for her as it's just a support stance. It's more of a situational use. But remember that her 1 in her light stance does do damage to the enemy as well, so with this in mind, you can use her 1 for damage instead if your 1 in dark stance is down or if you need some extra damage. A healing combo is 3 and 1. 2 and 3. I use this if the ally was CC'd and has taken some damage. 2 and 1. A combat tip. In light stance, try to use the 2 and 1 combo or even just the 1 by itself on an ally that you can't reach. Do not heal allies with your 3 if it's too dangerous for you to go in. Your 3 can put yourself in bad positions and can cost you your life. Since the 3 is just a tick heal, your ally may still end up dying where your 1 is an instant heal. With that in mind, Hel is a very situational god, so everything you do is depending on the situation. Builds for Hel. A mid build you can go is Mage's Blessing, Chronos Pendant, Shoes of the Magi, Rod of Asclepius, Rod of Tahuti, Soul Gem, and Obsidian Shard. You can swap out Chronos Pendant for Warlock Sash for more health. You can swap out Shoes of the Magi for Shoes of Focus for more cooldown. For a solo build, it really depends on what team you're up against. Warrior's Blessing, Genji's Guard if against a magical solo, or Breastplate if against a physical solo. And Shoes of Focus, that is your core. Some good items to keep in mind are Warlock Staff, Lotus Crown, Void Stone, Spirit Robe, Rod of Asclepius, Midgardian Mail. Counters of Hel. Hel is heavily countered by anti-heal and most of her kit is revolved around healing. Hel is also countered by slows. Being squishy with very bad mobility, this makes her very vulnerable. Odin counters her as she can't get out of his cage and his cage counters her slows. Hel is one of the goddesses that are heavily focused in team fights. Curse Ain't counters her heals very hard. What not to do as Hel. Do not put yourself in bad positions. You don't have great mobility. Do not prioritize damage over healing your allies. This one is a preference, but I feel that Hel should keep her allies alive for the most part. Do not stay quiet. If you're having trouble, let your teammates know. Hel is very dependent on her team play. Tips for Hel. As a mid or solo, try and stay idle in your dark stance mostly. You do not want to be in your light stance only to have to switch and have less benefits. Remember that it takes 3 seconds to fully load your stance for its maximum benefits. Your 1 can be used as safe clear as your 3 requires you to be in an unsafe position on the lane. I would like to thank Super Duelist for their generous coffee donation. Thanks for letting me do the things I do. If you would like to request a god guide or simply to support me, the link is down below. Any likes and comments would be super rad. Make sure to click the bell if you love Smite guides. This will notify you when I post a new guide for you. I hope to see you for the next one. Bye!